Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night Smackdown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, Smackdown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you are looking for our full review of this particular episode of Friday Night Smackdown, don't forget that it's already up and available with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload the Smackdown reviews, Raw reviews, PLE reviews, and a whole bunch of other videos that use real footage that we can never post here on YouTube because they would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's see what you guys sent in. Logan Paul joining the Vision is the greatest thing to happen to the faction since its inception. The dynamic that he brings to them and the heat that he brings is immeasurable. Okay, you might be onto something when it comes to the heat that he generates for the faction because head to toe, Logan Paul is not only generating the most heat, but I would argue that he's the only one generating heat for this faction because for the most part, people are fairly indifferent when it comes to Bronson Reed. Braun Breaker is just a straight up crowd favorite with people barking across arenas around the world, and nobody wants to boo Paul Heyman because he's so beloved, and the only way that he's able to generate heat with the crowd is if he makes fun of them for being ugly or incestuous losers. Meanwhile, Logan Paul, this man breathes, and people from the Raptors to the front row are booing him out of the building. And I have to say, as a faction that is trying to get over as the top heel faction in the company, having somebody that can generate boos regardless of whatever arena they're in is incredibly valuable. Here's the thing, I'm not entirely convinced that Logan Paul truly is a part of the Vision. I still firmly believe that this is going to be a one-off for Survivor Series War Games. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if on the following episode of Monday Night Raw, the Vision kicks Logan Paul out of the faction and Braun Breaker spears him in half. I just don't think that Logan Paul is going to be a full-time guy, and to be part of this faction, I think that you need to be full-time, and I think that just him getting speared into oblivion is an easy way to write him out of the faction. So for those that don't love the idea of Logan Paul being in the Vision, even though when it comes to generating heat, he is clearly valuable, I don't think that you need to fret. I still think he's going to get kicked out sometime soon. WWE bringing back Rebel Heart was one thing, but this swerve they did by having Axiom have his mask taken off, which led to DIY winning, I thought was really cool. Gargano asked for Rebel Heart to be back for years, and they finally listened. Okay, a couple of things here. The mask removal from Candice LeRae, I thought was awesome. So many times with masked luchadors, they tease the removal of the mask. It's very rare that we have the mask completely taken off. So that was pretty cool to see how Fraxium as a team handled the situation and how the crowd reacted and how Axiom himself immediately had to cover himself up and had to lose the match because he didn't want to reveal his face. I thought it was all executed incredibly well, especially with DIY celebrating with Axiom's mask afterwards. Now, when it comes to the entrance themes, fellas, we are getting one step closer to getting all of our favorite entrance themes back. We got Gunther Symphony number 9, we have Rebel Heart back, and now, ladies and gentlemen, I know he's injured right now, but we are about to get our limes back. I just know that we are. I wish WWE didn't have Rhea hint that AJ Lee would be joining the War Games match. I like surprises, and it just kind of ruined the surprise for who the 5th member could have been. Okay, I actually entirely agree with you. The segment here to end Friday Night Smackdown was set up as if there could be a shock. Hey, we're going to reveal who our 5th member is, when it was literally completely telegraphed with Rhea Ripley going up to AJ Lee and saying, hey, let's talk. If you wanted it to be a surprise and for it to be a shock and to generate a big pop with AJ Lee's music there to reveal that she's the 5th member, you shouldn't have done that segment backstage on Monday Night Raw teasing that she was going to be the 5th member. Literally, not a single human in that crowd or watching at home was shocked or surprised that AJ Lee was the 5th member, and ergo, no human was shocked or surprised that Becky Lynch was there as well. So I actually agree with you. I think in this instance, WWE kind of inadvertently kind of damaged the hype of their main event segment by teasing the reveal of the 5th member for the babyfaces, which in turn kind of reveals the 5th member for the heels on Monday Night Raw. I felt like that main event reveal of the 5th members fell flat and all of it was really rushed. I didn't think it was all executed very well. After seeing the bracket, my fear of Gunther versus Jay in the finals might come true. I tried to warn you about this potential doomsday. Some people called me a crazy lunatic because I was standing in the corner with the bell saying the end is here, the end is nigh. Jey Uso versus Gunther is going to be the finale of the Last Time Is Now tournament, and here we are. They have finally revealed a bracket, which, by the way, nice touch. It's nice to see a bracket. It's nice to see a visual to see where people are in this tournament, because this is the first time that we're actually having a visual of what the tournament bracket looks like. But now that I see it, I wish I didn't, because now that I see Uso and Gunther on opposite sides of the bracket, I am now like 99.9% sure that WWE is going to haunt us with Jey Uso versus Gunther for the 80,000th time. Look, there is a potential for Jey Uso's match to get interrupted by the Vision, similarly to how Bronson Reed's match got interrupted by the babyfaces. So fear not, it is possible that we might have Rusev somehow win this match. But I gotta be honest with you, when I look at this bracket, it is screaming like WWE wants to just force Jey Uso versus Gunther one more time down your throat. This was the best way for Bronson Reed to lose. Carmelo can't say that he pinned Bronson or that it was clean, but he still gets a well-deserved push. I am concerned what a loss would do to the Vision at War Games, though. I feel like it has to win. Okay, so when it comes to the Vision winning at War Games, I also agree. I feel like a faction that is this new, that it's still in its infancy, that's trying to get its footing as the top faction in the company, I think they need a win. If they lose here, this does absolutely nothing for the babyfaces, a team that is just ridiculously stacked and incredibly historic in terms of everything that everyone in this team has accomplished, from tag team legacy with the Usos, Roman, Cody, and CM Punk speak for themselves. They would benefit in no way, shape, or form from beating the team of heels. Meanwhile, the heels would catapult themselves. They would be incredibly benefited from beating the babyfaces here, because, well, they're the guys that WWE is trying to build as these unconquerable dudes that the babyfaces eventually need to conquer, say, at WrestleMania. And if the Vision were to lose, well, I gotta be honest, a lot of that aura kind of dissipates. It happened several times to the Judgment Day. It absolutely happened to Damage Control when they lost their War Games match. It completely just catapulted them down to the ground. So I don't want to see that for the Vision. I agree. I think the Vision should be winning this, even though the babyfaces have a ridiculously stacked team. The Vision should win. Luckily, they have Brock Lesnar, which, as we've learned in WWE terms, that's just a hack for an easy win. Now, when it comes to the Carmelo Hayes and Bronson Reed match, I am so happy that it ended in the way that it did, because you're right. I do think that it was smart to protect Bronson Reed. I do think that it was smart to not have him even be pinned. To lose via count out is such a great easy out, while also getting people excited for Carmelo Hayes, who got a tremendous pop for this win, a count out win. But even throughout the entire match, the crowd was very firmly behind Carmelo Hayes, which was just such a treat to hear the crowd actually giving a damn about such a talented guy like Melo. It does kind of hurt my soul to see the fact that he's going to be going up against Gunther, because I think it's pretty cut and dry that he's going to lose to Gunther. But at the very least, he did not lose in the first round, which is what most of us probably expected would happen with Carmelo Hayes. I will say it is a little bit disappointing in a tournament that hasn't had a single bit of shenanigans in any of the matches to have a match so full of shenanigans. I feel like if they're so afraid to have Bronson Reed or the Vision take an L, maybe, and I don't know, call me crazy, a simple solution would have just been to not have him in the tournament in the first place. I've seen enough. Give Melo a singles run. Hey, I'm down for the Carmelo singles run, but I just don't think that we're going to get it through this tournament. I don't think that he's going to be beating Gunther. I don't think that he's going to be beating John Cena in his retirement match. I do at the very least like that they are taking Carmelo Hayes seriously enough to actually beat somebody like a Bronson Reed, count out or not. But I will say, I do firmly believe that the Carmelo Hayes push, if it is going to happen, it has to be off the back of the program with The Miz. We can't completely deviate from that. They still need to finish that program. We need to have Carmelo Hayes stand tall there before we can truly start thinking about a proper push for Carmelo Hayes. I know Carmelo Hayes fans like myself were excited over this victory, but I think we should temper our expectations, because we have seen WWE take guys like Carmelo Hayes, who are clearly talented, that the crowd is behind, that the internet is behind, and do absolutely nothing with them. So temper your expectations, and let's just take baby steps, and let's just focus on the feud with The Miz, as opposed to trying to create these pictures of grandeur like him retiring John Cena. It's just not going to happen. Though highly unlikely, the heel women at War Games should beat the baby faces, even with the inclusion of AJ Lee and Rhea Ripley on the babyface team. Look, that babyface team is insanely stacked. That might be the most star-studded War Games team that I've ever seen. Literally every single one of the women on the babyface team is a Hall of Famer. You have Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and now AJ Lee. And granted, the heels have two Hall of Famers in their own right, in Asuka and Becky Lynch, so it's stacked on both sides. But to think that that team of babyfaces is going to lose, I have to do some crazy mental gymnastics to somehow justify it or to make myself believe that it could even be feasible. The only way that I see the heels winning here is in somehow, some way, Becky Lynch pins AJ Lee, because AJ Lee already has a submission win over Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch getting a pin victory here over AJ Lee would get them to be tied so that we can then have the rubber match at Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, whatever it might be at a future show. So you do have justification to have the heels win, but the only justification is regarding Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, because if you remove those two from the equation, there is no way in hell that a team of the Kabuki Warriors, Lash Legend, and Nia Jax is going to beat that insanely stacked team. The key to the heels winning here is the Becky Lynch and AJ Lee saga. That Cody Rhodes promo felt like pre-WrestleMania 40 Cody, his best version. We need to see more of this Cody who's fighting against a powerful enemy, not corporate champion Cody who has the backing of management. This was a phenomenal promo from Cody Rhodes. In fact, I dare say that this promo was good enough to justify him being in the War Games match, because I have been critical of Cody's inclusion into this War Games match in that, let's face it, it doesn't make any sense. But when Cody Rhodes is able to provide storytelling and promos of this caliber, it reminds you why WWE has him as QB1, because he truly can be sensational at telling a story, at getting you pumped, at getting you excited, at getting the blood rushing, and making you want to tune in to War Games. It's so funny because to me, even though Cody has the least real connection to this entire feud to begin with, when I look at all of the buildup and all of the promos for this men's War Games match, Cody is the one that has gotten me the most excited for this match with this single promo right here. Not even the huge brawl at the last episode of Monday Night Raw with Roman Reigns, with Brock Lesnar, with the cops getting put through the barricades. Not even that got me more excited than this, because at the end of the day, I will always be won over by narrative and storytelling, and here Cody Rhodes absolutely knocked it out of the park. Words can't explain how much I enjoyed Ilja versus JD McDonagh. Been in love with this feud since NXT days, and hopefully we can get a program with those two again soon. Yes, so Ilja Dragunov and JD McDonagh had a solid program in NXT. One of my favorite recent NXT matches is a triple threat between Bron Breakker, Ilja Dragunov, and JD McDonagh. I think it's Halloween Havoc 2021 or 2022. You should be able to find it probably on YouTube. It is a solid match if you want to see more of JD McDonagh and Ilja Dragunov just cooking up a storm. But yeah, I would love to see more of this. I'm sure that this is very likely to be a one-off, considering JD McDonagh is part of the Judgment Day. Judgment Day is on Monday Night Raw, and it doesn't seem like Ilja Dragunov is going to be going there anytime soon, or that Judgment Day is going to be coming over to Smackdown anytime soon. But the second that I heard the Judgment Day music, one, I knew it was going to be JD McDonagh, and two, I knew I was going to be pumped because I knew that that match was going to be fantastic, and they delivered arguably one of the better Ilja Dragunov open challenge matches. Those two have chemistry for days, and they can fight each other until the end of time as far as I'm concerned. I think the question about will they ever have a proper program with one another will always come down to the fact of, does WWE see value in JD McDonagh on his own outside of the Judgment Day? Clearly, up to this point in his main roster run, the answer is no, because he's only ever been with the Judgment Day in the main roster. So we're kind of talking about uncharted territory, things that WWE has not really experimented with yet when it comes to JD McDonagh. So it's kind of impossible to really theorize if this is ever going to happen or materialize into a proper feud. I feel like if WWE isn't careful enough, Logan Paul will start to feel like the leader of the Vision instead of Bron Breakker. I think Bron Breakker should be doing more speaking on behalf of the group instead of being overshadowed like it's felt like lately. Well, to go back to an earlier piece of conversation that we've had, it might be by design because Logan Paul is the one that is generating heat. Meanwhile, when Bron Breakker gets on the mic, people want to cheer for Bron Breakker, and that might not be what the reaction that WWE top brass wants for the Vision at this juncture going into War Games. But like I said, I really don't think that Logan Paul is, one, the leader of the Vision, vision, nor going to be in the vision in the long term. I do agree with what you're saying. Having Logan Paul be front and center when the vision is walking to the ring, front and center in backstage segments, being the one that's featured the most when it comes to mic time, does sort of make it feel like he's like the most important member of the vision. But I really firmly believe that once the dust settles of War Games, that he's not going to be the most important member of the vision, nor will he be part of the vision. But Santi, he's coming out with the vision to their entrance theme. I know. I see what you're seeing. I'm just not bought into this idea that he's a long-term member. Cody Rhodes literally skyrocketed my excitement for War Games with one promo, then the entire buildup of War Games entirely. Cody Rhodes is awesome on the mic. To not repeat what I've already said, yes, this promo absolutely did wonders at getting me pumped for this match, even though Cody isn't even the central figure of this storyline. However, what I want to comment on is how not often enough we get this version of Cody Rhodes. We get the very monotone, very corporate speak Cody Rhodes like 95% of the time, and we just simply do not get this pumped up, amped up Cody Rhodes enough. When we do get it, it's always awesome. I feel like the last time that we got this particular version of Cody Rhodes was when he was feuding with Kevin Owens. I feel like this guy's been dormant ever since. We didn't even really get to see him during the John Cena feud either. So it is nice to see this version of Cody Rhodes resurface, because every single time that we've gotten this passionate version of Cody Rhodes, it's always awesome. Like every single time, it always delivers. Giulia getting only 5 seconds in a backstage segment, not even a 30-second segment. Hey, listen, I understand, Andrew, that your ad on X is Giulia Stardom, so you're a big Giulia fan. But I'm going to be really, really plain, honest, and frank with you, and my name's not even Frank. You are in a beggars can't be choosers situation. You can't be demanding Giulia time for more than 30 seconds or a minute. You will take any Giulia time that is given to you. You, my friend, be grateful for the 5 seconds that you got, Giulia, because it's 5 more seconds than I thought that she was going to get, because I really firmly believe that Giulia was going to disappear into catering and that we weren't going to see her again. At the very least, the 5 seconds that we got out of Giulia tells us that there's a pulse, that there is life, that somebody might actually give a shit about Giulia enough to eventually give you the 30 seconds of Giulia. But right now, Andrew, you will take your 5 seconds of Giulia and be grateful, damn it. In my opinion, this was an amazing segment between Rhea and Charlotte, and I believe that Rhea did amazing in this promo, being able to explain her side and reasoning, and they definitely did amazing in this promo. Amazing job to both of them. Okay, I actually disagree here. I liked a lot of it, but I felt like the substance was not there. I really loved the cinematic feel that they gave to this segment, but when you really go back and listen to it, they didn't really say much of substance at all. I really wanted them to dig deep into their history with one another, of the feud for the NXT title, the feud for WrestleMania 39, the battles and wars that they've had in the past didn't really get touched upon. It was literally Rhea saying, hey, I know that we've been to war a bunch of times, but like when it comes to War Games, you can trust me, and I have a lot of respect for you, and I want to trust you. And Charlotte says, okay, and that's it. Like, I know I simplified it, but more or less, that was the conversation. I wanted a lot more. The way that they set this up warranted maybe even multiple of these segments throughout the night. It felt rushed. It felt like they didn't get to hit the notes that they ought to have to really, really make you believe that this is an impossible friendship to even come to, even for just one match. And I just don't feel like they did a good enough job at really making that come to life, even though the setting was awesome and the setup was fantastic. The actual message that they delivered, I don't think landed. I'm tired of the Logan Paul glaze when he can't even deliver a pre-written wrist promo good. Okay, but like, you understand that that was on purpose, right? You understand that you were meant to see that. You understand that he even went to go physically read it before he was interrupted by the Usos. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if like the most obvious thing, the most obvious punchline went over your head in this segment. Sheamus being injured is genuinely heartbreaking. I believe that he was the only person other than Gunther who had a shot in the tournament, and now it's out the window, and so is another Gunther versus Sheamus for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I'm really bummed about that. One of the reasons why I'm bummed about it is because I really like Sheamus. Obviously, I think a lot of us love Sheamus. But the other reason why I'm really bummed about this is because it was about to prove me right. When I looked at the tournament bracket, one of the things that I said was that I'm ready for it to be Gunther. Like, it's so clear that WWE wanted to be Gunther, but that along the way, Gunther could have match of the year after match of the year after match of the year. When he gets to John Cena, people are going to be in love with the idea of Gunther. And it was shaping up that way. It was shaping up like a match of the year contender between him and Javon Evans. Match of the year contender now upcoming between him and Carmelo Hayes. Match of the year between probably him and Penta, and then finishing off with a match of the decade between him and Sheamus. It was shaping up so perfectly. Sheamus was the only man that truly made me believe that there was hope that it wasn't going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. And unfortunately, now that Gunther is not here, we have unleashed the demon that is Jey Uso. But yeah, obviously, speedy recovery to Sheamus. Hopefully he's good for like WrestleMania. Hopefully he's good for the Royal Rumble. I really, really hope that this isn't one of those shoulder injuries where he's going to be out for 6 to 9 months like we've seen with recent shoulder injuries a la Liv Morgan. Jeff Hardy will be the mystery opponent for LA Knight. Okay, so now that Sheamus is out, we have a mystery opponent. They even have the little silhouette there. Look at that. Vacant doesn't just win championships, he also wins tournament slots, apparently. Jeff Hardy, sure, would be cool. I think that would be a very great fan servicey option, but I think they're just going to go with somebody from SmackDown. I don't think that they're going to overthink this. They're probably going to give this to, I don't know, a member of the MFT. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Tama Tonga that gets this, or maybe Tommaso Ciampa, or maybe they put the Miz back in. I don't know, but I just don't think that this mystery opponent is going to end up being like a surprise on the level of a Dolph Ziggler or a Zack Ryder. So because of that, I don't think that your dream of it being Jeff Hardy is going to happen. Not to mention that the match is scheduled to take place during the pre-taped episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So if it is going to be a big shock and awe surprise, it's going to get spoiled for everybody, which is why I don't think it's going to be one. Finn should have won. I don't know what they're doing with him besides him taking pins all the time. Dude, like, where have you been for like the past 2 years? Like, we're genuinely, and I love Finn Balor fans because I feel for Finn Balor fans. What were you expecting? Like, were you genuinely, like, be honest with yourself. Did you really think Finn Balor was going to win this match? You knew deep down inside, not even that deep down, pretty surface level in your heart, that Finn Balor was always destined to lose this match against Penta. That's just his job, brother. That's what it is. Unless I see something that tells me otherwise, Finn Balor, in my eyes, will always just be out there to take the pin. I'm at SmackDown, and it's not over. This is a reminder that, like I've already mentioned, this upcoming episode of Friday Night SmackDown is pre-taped, which means beware of spoilers, beware of being on Twitter, beware of going onto dirt sheet sites, because there are going to be spoilers left, right, and center. If you do not want to be spoiled, make sure that you have blinders on for the next week when it comes to reading your WWE news. A total of 11 minutes for the women was very weird tonight. Yeah, 11 minutes is entirely unacceptable when you're building to a show that is currently 50% women. You have the Women's World Championship match and then an entire Women's War Games match as well. It is weird that they only got 11 minutes, that there wasn't a single women's match, that Chelsea Green's entire United States Women's Celebration segment got completely cut out of the show. This was not a good look for WWE and their view of women's wrestling tonight at all whatsoever. Tongaloa made me laugh so much in this promo, which I just don't think is what they're going for. They're trying to be cool. They're trying to be intimidating. And I'm sorry, they're just simply not. I kept laughing every time that Tongaloa interjected. I swear to God, even Solo Sikoa almost broke character with Tongaloa just chiming in. But hey, you know what? If there is a silver lining here, I'm glad that they did this whole thing without their face paint, because I'm not gonna lie, their face paint kind of goofy, not doing it for me, especially when Solo himself won't paint his face. All right, folks, we'll leave it there. Thank you so very much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Again, beware of spoilers for the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Take care, goodbye, get out of here.